Hi, everyone. This is Angelina Asante. Welcome to my brand new podcast. This is The Healthy Hypochondriac. This week's special topic is, am I an alcoholic? Now, if you knew me in my 20s, you probably remember sometimes I don't. I had a lot of fun. I got in a lot of trouble. I know that's surprising, but I like to drink, and I had a little issue with drinking in my 20s. Was I an alcoholic? I think I have two experts here to tell me. So first of all, my friend April O'Leary, I've known April for years. I've always known April sober. So April's going to share a little bit about her new project that has just come out, Sober Moms, Happy Moms. We also have one of the contributors to that book, and she's going to be speaking about her story. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us,
I'm so excited to have you guys because I've been coming to the launch the last couple of weeks. You've had a speaker series, and it's been actually a lot of fun. I've had a lot of laughter. I mean, it's been very emotional, but it's actually been really funny. You guys are really funny. So tell me, what made you decide to do this book?
Well, I just celebrated 5 years of sobriety.
Yay!
In March. And I thought to myself, there's so many amazing moms that I've met over the past 5 years who have so much to offer. And a lot of the literature that's out to support alcoholics in recovery is about men and stories of men that have recovered. And I thought it would be helpful to moms, especially in the culture that we have today of, wine and drinking and all of these cliches and, laughing about drinking, that it's not really so funny when you're in it and you're a mom. And so we thought these stories might help moms kind of come to the realization that maybe their drinking could be a problem.
Now, anonymous mom, how did you come to be a contributor to this book?
April and I know each other. I actually introduced April to a really good friend of mine who is her editor here at O'Leary Publishing. And so we became good friends. And April asked me if I wanted to contribute to the book. And it was interesting because I started writing the story, and then I kind of put it on the shelf for a minute and almost thought about not doing it. My mom was very sick and dying. And then April kind of, they put a hold on the publishing of the book itself. And it all worked out that I was ready to go ahead and move forward with it. And they were getting ready to move forward with it. And it launched on Mother's Day. And so we're sisters in sobriety. And there's just a lot of great hope in this book for moms. And I wanted to be able to put something out there there were so many women that helped me along the way. And I want to be able to do that for everyone. And I think this book is not just for moms, it's for anybody. And I think there's a real gift in it for children, for teenagers to read this, for adult children who maybe had an alcoholic parent. There's just a lot of hope in it for people.
Well, when April and I met years ago, I remember I had said a couple of things to her. One of the books I wrote is about recovery, and I went to actually Let Me in Hazelden and Betty Ford in Naples to do the research there. And I remember telling April about this, and she said, "Are you my sister in sobriety?" And I said, "I don't know what that means." So because I had confided into her that I definitely had, like I said, an issue, not to put a label on it, but I definitely had a drinking problem in my 20s. And April said some interesting things to me. Now, how would I have known if I had met you ladies in my 20s? How would I have known if I was an alcoholic? And I know you're always an alcoholic, right? That's what I've been told. But what are the warning signs that I should have looked for to get help?
Well, if you were drinking like that in your 20s, and I think we're pretty close in age, we both were drunk together, so we didn't know either one of us were doing it.
Right.
You and I were drunk together, and I don't even remember any of it. No. Well, actually, the real truth about alcoholism for me and for many alcoholics that I know is that no one can tell me I was an alcoholic. I had to come to that truth myself. And I had no idea that my drinking was a problem. And I started drinking, at 14, and the drinking was always a lot of fun. And I happened to have a boyfriend that moved to Florida when he was 18 and I was 14. And I got to come down here and live in the summer. And through the summers, I would be dressed up to look the drinking age, which was 19. So my drinking was very grandiose and very fun, and getting all dressed up like a big girl with a pretty glass in my hand. I remember being with a whiskey sour in my hand, thinking it was so beautiful. And it just, the drinking was a lot of fun for me. I was having fun. I didn't think I had a lot of consequences or problems around it. Actually, I never even thought about it if it was a problem for me. But as my life went on, I was seeking to deal with my self-esteem problem. I knew other people in my family had problems, but it just took me until I really hit my bottom to go, oh, I don't control it. It controls me. And that's a long story, but you can read it in the book.
And I think that, to your point, with no one being able to tell you whether you are or aren't an alcoholic, they have a saying in the 12-step world that if you think you're not, then go ahead and try some controlled drinking. Mm-hmm. So if you can have, only 2 drinks a day, and you can stop at 2 a day, and you never find that you're going overboard, or you can set it down and it really doesn't matter anymore, and you don't have a desire to pick it up, you may not, even though you may have had a period of heavy drinking in your life. But for the alcoholic, the alcoholic will fail that experiment. Mm-hmm. Every time. They'll try controlled drinking for a day or 2 or a week, or they'll set it aside. They'll say, I'm going to quit drinking for a year. And if I can quit for a year, that means I'm not. And then they pick it back up, and you're right back to where you left off. So because it's a progressive illness, people that have alcoholism, it will progressively get worse. People who heavy drank for a period of time, maybe like yourself in your early 20s, which isn't uncommon in that age range, and then set it down because you get married and you have kids and your life moves on. Mm-hmm. Those people may not have a problem. I think for me, when I got sober at age 38, I was still doing some of the stuff in my drinking that I was doing when I was 18. And I had 3 kids and I was married. And then you wake up one day and you say, I am still behaving as though I am in college, and I am not. And it's getting worse. And the consequences that could be happening are way more severe than I might have suffered at age 18. So for me, that was the conclusion I came to, was the same that mm-hmm. our anonymous mom came to, is that when I controlled it, I didn't enjoy it. And when I enjoyed it, I didn't control it.
Well, that's interesting. Exactly. And I do remember, and you were talking about being a woman and being older with kids and married and all that. Like, I remember telling April, oh, I'm driving towards your house, 45 minutes away from where I live. And she said, you're coming down here for what? And I said, book club. And she said, oh, are you going out drinking? And I said, no, I'm actually going, I'm a writer. I'm going to talk about the book I read. And she's like, no one's read that book. They're going there to drink. And you're right. They were all plastered by the time I left. I'm standing holding the book going, no one wants to talk to me about this. Why has that become? And it is something like, even like you look at sitcoms, it's like a big joke. Book clubs are times to
I'm raising my hand. If you could see me on the podcast right now, I'm raising my hand because I was in a book club for 13 years. And it was a joke that I only came to drink. I never read the book. I hated that the person who ran the book club would ask every time. She would go around and point to each person, who read the book this month? Did you read the book? And I'm like, I'm really only here to drink. And then when I quit drinking, I went for the next 2 months and I realized, like, I don't want to read these books. I don't even like these people that much. So I quit.
But why do we do that in our society? Because, and you know what's really funny for me? Like when I would go anywhere and people would be like, oh, you don't drink? Because like I got to where like I was binge drinking and I'd black out, binge drinking, black out. And then like, now obviously I don't drink. I don't, I don't drink like I used to. I have an occasional beer once in a while. I'm not totally off, but I'll have one beer if I'm watching football or whatever. But it's funny in our society that it's more acceptable if you are in recovery than if you're just someone who doesn't drink. And I think it's weird. Like when I go to functions and people say, oh no, I'm going to pass, I'm in recovery, or, that person is looked at differently than the person who just doesn't drink. Have you guys experienced that at all?
No, I'm not really. I feel like in the beginning of getting sober, it was like, there's a lot of like worrying about, what am I going to say if somebody asks me, why aren't you drinking or whatever? And that really bothered me. And I just and then I found that like the one person at an event when I wasn't drinking that was really going like, why aren't you drinking? Why don't you have a drink? It's like later they were like the drunkest person in the room. Like, so that's been my experience with that. I think society I think, drinking is legal and people do a lot of it. And I think for me personally, I enjoyed it for a really long time. I drank the fun out of it. I just really think that, we went to this party, we went to that baby shower, we went to this bridal shower. I mean, everybody drank, everybody hung around with drank. It's acceptable. So I don't know that I'm really answering your question, but it's just for me, and really, and just to refer to the book and the importance of this book, I just want to say that there's so many different stories and there's so many different ways people drink. And it really doesn't matter what you drank or how you drank or when you drank. It's how you felt and how it was affecting your life and coming to the truth of that. And I think that I went around for a really long time just thinking I was just drinking like everybody else. I mean, there's a million moms out there going, yeah, we go to book club. We were hammered. Like, yeah, you were too. And we used to talk about, oh, I don't remember. And I'm like, yeah, I don't remember either. And that just was normal. And it's like, but that's not normal. And that's what people don't understand.
Someone in the meeting tonight read a poem about not being there for their children. Was there a time, now I know you got sober before your child was born, and then April, you got sober in the last 5 years. But I will say this, your social media around this book is affecting your children in a fantastic way. Can you tell the listeners what's going on with that?
Yeah, it's really shocking actually, because when, as a publisher, you really don't know when you put a book out, any book, this book or other books, how it's going to be received or what the ripple effects will be or who's going to think it was impactful. And sometimes the people you think will find it really impactful don't, and other people do. And in this case, there's been children, teenagers who are the same age as my teenagers who have messaged them, who have seen my posts on Instagram and have messaged them saying, I hope you know you're so lucky to have a mom who's sober. I wish she was my mom. Or I bought the book for my mom and I sent it to her, and their mom lives in another state.
No one goes, I'm going to pretend your mom's my mom.
Yeah.
So it just is really, it touches a nerve to know that, for them to know that they have the gift of sobriety in the house. We don't drink at home. I'm present for my kids any time of day or night. My youngest daughter just had knee surgery, and I was able to be there for her when she was in pain. And it was actually interesting. The day after she had surgery is when Anne, who wrote that poem in the beginning, she sent it to me in email that day. And Amy was sleeping with her head on my shoulder and her knee propped up. And I was reading this poem, and it just struck me that I get to be here for my kid right now. I'm not stressed out and drinking because my kid had knee surgery. I'm here to help her deal with her own pain. So it's been really, as our anonymous mom here shared, it's been interesting to see that children of parents who are alcoholics, who are reading the books, are understanding their parents more, but are also, able to appreciate sobriety and know that there's help.
Well, and you said that you and your spouse don't drink at home. I came from parents who didn't drink at all. Do you find that, your own personal background maybe contributes to the way you handle I don't want to say tolerance, but handles your decision making when it comes to alcohol, like when you're an adult? Because I know, like you said, I'm in college and I'm just keeping up with everybody else, right? But at that point, are you thinking about, well, I guess neither of you, your parents didn't drink, did they, April?
Not much.
Okay, and then anonymous mom.
I grew up in a household. My father was an alcoholic.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was definitely drinking, and my parents were also daily pot smokers. So there was all kinds of good stuff going on to set me up for that this was just what you did. And of course, it was a little secret. You didn't tell anybody about your parents smoking pot, but it just was what our culture was in our household. And it's what the culture is in a lot of households. We would go as little kids with my parents to somebody else's house. It would be another couple, and they'd have a couple of kids, and they'd be smoking pot and having drinks and having dinner. I mean, it's the way I grew up. So, and everybody's, I'm sure that everybody's got different ways, but, when you grow up in that, then that's okay, but it's, unfortunately, people think it's a rite of passage.